Yes, indeed. Oh, baby, the playoffs are here. Well, we got one more night of the regular season, but we know all the matchups. Everything's locked up. There's no meaningful hockey tonight. We still have some picks for you. Preview all 8 series. These are the two gentlemen here that I'm happy to have two back in the fold. It's not just Christopher and myself. We got at Ant Rivera 86 and at Fuzzy Chris 91. And fellas, I opened today by asking who would have thought that'd be my hockey team out of the three. I mean, we were pretty sure Ant was going, but between me and Chris, would have thought it was the other way around, but it is the Rangers who will be skating for the last game for Sam Rosen on television tonight. So if you have a chance to watch the Rangers feed, or if you got the package, that's the one to watch over the Lightning, even though they got a great team as well. But here I am, no playoffs, and you guys are both going.
Well, last season it was you that was making the deep run into the playoffs, and both of us were sitting on the couch watching with the nice, some nice boneless wings, as Christopher Morace likes to eat. We all like. I'll say that.
Did you have any in celebration of the victory over the Hurricanes last night?
I did not. My resting heart rate, I think, topped at 93 beats per minute. I was going through it here. It was a little bit. You were like, it's just a great night. It's just, I'm feeling fantastic. Nothing can kill my vibe right now. It's just like I'm set. We get a couple of days here to kind of refocus, kind of relax. And if you're looking to hang out with me next week, like, just don't bother. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not going to happen. We, take a rendezvous maybe the week after that. But I mean, Montreal's got 4 playoff games next week, and I'm set.
Specifically Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and next Sunday. Those are the first 4 games of that Capitals Hurricane series. Canadiens Capital series. Maybe jumping the gun on Capitals Hurricanes, but yeah. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. Yeah, unless your plans involve being next to Chris watching the game, he ain't doing anything. And same for Anthony. Looking at the Devils Hurricane schedule, Easter Sunday. Nothing says Easter Sunday like Devils Hurricanes at 3:00 Eastern. Tuesday, Friday, Sunday as well for the first 4 games. But we'll go series by series. I actually have, and we do fantasy hockey here, and for most the leagues are done, or tonight's the last night. I actually have a little bit of a predicament that I wanted to run by the Brain Trust before we got into Thursday picks and series preview. So let's get down to brass tacks here. This is the big money league for me. Let's go to the matchup here. And basically, my only issue here, as you can see, overtime losses is 0 for me. So the only goalie, and I'm out of transactions. I'm a little upset that Jordan Staal did not skate either last night or won't be tonight, because that would have helped me in faceoffs, but I still got guys that can, with Monahan and Miller, that can keep me in a slight lead there, hopefully. Same thing, shots on goals is close. I think I got enough there. But this is where it comes down to. If Darcy Kemper plays tonight, which according to ESPN, he's scheduled to start, but nothing's been confirmed yet. And if you look at the save percentage here, 888.3, 8844. So he's going to have Jet Greaves go tonight. And I would imagine that the Blue Jackets, even though there's nothing to play for, I can't imagine a scenario where they don't beat the Islanders and play them well. So I have to assume I've got an 11-6 lead here. He's probably going to get save percentage and probably goals against back on me. So now we're down to 9-8. I can play Kemper and maybe keep those categories and take a chance at a shutout, or I just bench him if he plays and don't relinquish that overtime loss because there's no way I would get one, and then just have to hope I hang on with faceoffs and shots on goal. Is that the way to go, or sure, if Kemper goes, should I roll him?
Here we go again, where me and Chris are put on the line here. We were a couple of nights ago. You guys didn't get to hear it, but we had to throw Dustin. All the stars were aligned for Dustin Wolf to have a good game, and it just went in the total opposite direction. And now I'm
in that league.
I'm glad it didn't, but now I'm a little worried. I don't want to mess this up for you.
You're a little gun shy. I get it.
I'm a little gun shy. Yeah.
Yeah, we came to us in the group and asking for help, and not only we did not help. We listen. Dustin Wolf did us no favors, but
we came with stats, everything. We had everything lined up, all the scenarios and stuff. Nothing.
Right, the numbers are there. Look, it does sound like Darcy Kemper will get the start. Kemper is 23-2 on home ice with a 167 goals against average and a 933 save percentage at 4 shutouts. So. Being a math guy, the numbers say you should play him, even if it's like Calgary, the X. I don't see them resting anybody, but even if they let's say they didn't, let's say they just roll it out. This is a road game for them. The Kings have been stellar on home ice. It doesn't look like Byfield is going to play. It doesn't look like Kopitar is going to play. But the Flames are just so bad at scoring goals. This team offensively can't generate chances. So numbers wise, I would listen, having absolutely no skin in this game and wanting to watch chaos, like I would roll him just because.
Well, I can't catch wins, but the other thing I could do, he's only got Jet Greaves going tonight, and he's got a 3, 6, 9 save advantage of me. So does Darcy Kemper make 9 saves more than Jet Greaves tonight to at least get that category to a tie?
No.
Might be dicey. Does he get a shutout against the Flames? He could, but you're really asking for a lot on that.
Yeah.
Well, now he won't because you said it. So
right.
that's problem number one. Problem number 2 as well for Jet Greaves. He has turned into just playoff Carey Price. He has been so good down the stretch. He's also posted 2 shutouts in his last 4 starts. The Islanders, I'm going to try to not, dunk on them too hard here, but they shoot the puck a ton and they just can't score. Not to mention their power play is horrendous. Their penalty kill just as bad. This is a terrible hockey team. And like you said, Columbus, they have played well. I can't imagine them coming out tonight on home ice and just being like, yeah, we don't care. No, they have been through so much to get to this point. They made it a lot more interesting than it should have been. But I just expect Jet Greaves to have a fantastic game. And Columbus in general, they've been really good on home ice. So I feel like you just send it.
Here's why I think I'm not going to, because everything you're saying means that he's going to pass me in goals against and save percentage probably tonight. So I'm already relinquishing those 2 categories. If I play Darcy Kemper and it somehow goes to overtime and Calgary loses, that could be the death of me. So if I'm relinquishing the goals against and the save percentage, because even if I play Kemper, maybe he pitches a shutout. Maybe he gets those numbers down. I think the protecting against that overtime loss possibility and hoping that I hang on in shots on goals and faceoffs, because if I play him and he gets an overtime loss and he doesn't bring down that, and I still get passed in goals against and save percentage, I'm done. So
you're protecting the category you already have,
and that
compared to trying to get that extra category.
I'm basically, I'm trying to keep that category. That way, if it goes from 11 to 6 to 9 to 8, as long as I hang on in shots on goal and faceoffs, because all the other categories are pretty much decided one way or the other at this point. Like, I'm not going to catch him in hits and blocks. He's not going to catch me on power play points or assists, or probably even goals at that point. So yeah, I think I got to do it. I think I got to bench the guy that's carried me this year, and you guys will either get a very happy or angry text from me later, and we'll find out. See what happens.
It sounds like you're protecting the lead instead of trying to go out there and continue to put the pedal to the metal. That's what it sounds like. So
right, but this is not prevent.
I'm just saying, a lot of teams that play
a game. This is fantasy.
I know, but a lot of teams that play protect the lead, we know how this goes. As a Montreal fan, I've seen this, and I can tell you how many times it actually pays off. So
I've got time to decide. I can
got
also,
time. Yes,
because Columbus goes earlier than the Kings. That can also, I can also make my decision there. I may have no choice but to play him if I need to. So that also helps. So we'll see. Marek saying good luck. Yeah, this is the the 2 that I have locked up. There's no money involved. This is the one I want. This is the league I want. Now you already started talking a little bit about Blue Jackets Islanders. I mean, we may as well just get to the Thursday night preview here, and we'll start there. Looking at the Islanders and the Blue Jackets. Last night, this was a much different line. The Blue Jackets last night, when I went to bed, when I started doing this, were minus 128. They're now up to minus 173, probably for all the reasons we mentioned here. And the other side of it is the Islanders, when they played their last game the other night, that was Matt Martin's last home game. And you know how that goes when it's the penultimate game's a home game. It's almost like the season's over at that point. And that's not to say the Islanders aren't going to get off the plane and show up tonight, but it's asking a lot for a team like the Islanders, who've had the season they have. It's the last road trip and last game of the season. going against a Columbus team that wants to end on a high note, despite the fact that they can't get in due to the result of the Hurricanes losing to the Canadiens last night. It would be a nice way to end the season that started off as about as awful as any team could ever imagine. I think this is, for me, Blue Jackets on the puck line plus 140. It's Jet Greaves versus Marcus Hogberg. Yeah, I think it's, not to say it's a no-brainer, but if there was ever a team on the puck line at plus 140, let's do it.
Yeah, that's exactly where it's going for me. I don't trust the Islanders. I don't trust that offense. Don't trust that defense. Don't trust that power play, that penalty kill. I mean, Raw may change goalies 3 times in this game if he feels like it. Who knows what we're going to get? So if you want to play it a little bit safe, I think the in regulation is a little bit more swallowable. Palatable is the word.
Yeah, we'll go with that one.
We'll go with that one. I think it's like minus 120 or something. So you can get some good value there. But I agree. The puck line is where it's at. Even if the Islanders wanted to score goals, like that offensive group is horrendous.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the 60-minute line. What do you got, Ant?
Ant's just coming in, hanging out.
Yeah, just watching everybody. I'm going to take the Blue Jackets, but I'm also going to take the under on the 6.5 goals. I know that they've been scoring goals at a premium here, but I think the Islanders will play a little bit hard in this last game, but the Blue Jackets will come away in what is I think is a memorable season for them, considering how it started. And, they had no expectations going into the year. They lose one of their best players in a tragic accident, and they come out playing like this. I think they end the season on a high note. They take the win, but I'm going to take just the under on the 6.5 goals.
One thing I noticed is a lot of the over-unders, pretty much all but 2 of the games have all gone up by a half a goal since last night. So a lot of people betting overs. So Ant's maybe on to something there. Maybe you get a 4-2 final and you're in good shape. And that's certainly possible there because I don't see Columbus letting up a whole lot, especially with the way Jet Greaves has been playing. One of the games that did not go up was the 5.5 total here between the Hurricanes at the Senators. Both of these teams going to the playoffs. Both of these teams looking to rest. No Seth Jarvis, no Jordan Stahl, among others for the Hurricanes. Senators minus 126 at home, total 5.5. Hurricanes plus 113 on the road. You think Ottawa can win by 2 goals? It's plus 195. And looking at the starting matchup tonight there, it's going to be Linus Ullmark, likely getting a tune-up before the playoffs. Nobody for the Hurricanes yet. Imagine Freddie Anderson maybe gets a tune-up here, but I got no play in this game. I'm staying away from this one. This is 2 teams that probably aren't going to do whole much. Maybe the under as a result, but other than that, I got nothing.
I'm actually going to take the Senators money line right there, and it's actually quite favorable. Brady Tkachuk is going to play in this game. Probably wants a little warm up before the playoffs start. See how he's feeling. Looks like Jake Sanderson is going to be back in the lineup as well. So Ottawa's about as healthy as they can be to this point. Linus Ullmark as well. That's a big upgrade for the Senators in goal. Carolina's playing their second game in as many nights. They didn't necessarily look good in Montreal, but that's fair because their B squad was on the ice and they still held up defensively, but that's not saying much because Canadians can't generate any offense. So the Senators are a team that can generate it. They can skate them. I think just Carolina just wants to go home. So this game won't be a blowout, not enough to get the under. I would like, or at least my expectation is that Freddie Anderson will start it. Under 5.5, this could just end up being one of those games where it gets out of hand at some point because nobody wants to be here. But I trust the money line here a little bit. Not in regulation. This game could be also a snore fest. Puck line, though, has some good value at plus 190 if you're hoping for the empty netter. But Senators at minus 126, I can swallow. I'll take that.
Last 4 games for the Senators have been a total of 7 goals in each game. So I'm going to take the over here on this one at over 5.5. Obviously, at some point, and I could be wrong, it could be lower, but at some point, they're going to start resting these players to get ready for what is the playoffs this weekend. So, but I will take the over on it. I'll put a little money on that.
And just to go back to Columbus, the regulation line was minus 120, so you could still get some. That's still a decent number there. So there's that'll be the game up at the Canadian Capital tonight. We got the Capitals on the road at the Penguins here. I mean, usually Ovechkin versus Crosby is a must-see TV, but not when it's Clay Stevenson and Alex Nedeljkovic in net tonight. I've got nothing in this one. The over went up to 6.5. The total went up to 6.5. I've got no leans or plays here. Maybe the Penguins want to finish strong against a Capitals team. I don't know exactly who they're resting tonight, but I don't got a lean at all in this one.
This is a nah, dog. I'm good night for this game. I'm staying away from this one as well.
Yeah, if you're betting on this, please seek help because trusting the Penguins to do anything is that's just not a way to live. Capitals are a mess, but to be fair, again, they've kind of locked it up. It's been a whirlwind for them. I will say this, though. If you want some action from here, Sidney Crosby has 51 points on home ice. So you might as well just take, Sidney Crosby anytime goal because he loves to score at home. You might as well take his over in points, over in assists. Just take one of each, kind of put them all together. You can parlay them. You can not. You can do whatever you want. But let's not pretend the Capitals are any good. Jacob Chikrin is not going to play in this game as well. John Carlson's not going to play on this game. So Capitals are missing some guys on the back end. That's still not enough for me to trust the Penguins because that's how terrible they are. But I certainly trust Sidney Crosby. So I'm going to take one of each of whatever he's doing. Just the over on it. If it's there and it's an over, just take it. That's a pretty good sign here of what could come.
All right, Capitals Penguins from the Steel City tonight. My Rangers playing their last game of the season. Sam Rosen calling his last ever Ranger game after 40 years on MSG Network. So might be a tear in my eye, circa 9:30, 10 o'clock Eastern time tonight. Grew up with him as the voice of the Rangers. Meanwhile, you got Tampa Bay locked into Florida. They know they're going to have home ice against them. Rangers, tumultuous season here. I mean, there's really not a reason for me to, other than the fact that the Lightning will probably be taking it a little bit easy tonight. The Rangers on the money line at -102. Igor Shesterkin's going against Johansson. Sure, why not? That would be typical Rangers to be just have a season where they were terrible, then finish on a high note. So the Rangers on the money line, sure, why not?
You're always tempted with this Sam Rosen to go for the Rangers here. Maybe they'll give one last win, one last hurrah.
I don't think they care, to be honest.
Yeah, but that's the thing too, right? Like they probably don't care. And every loss over the last month has been a big time loss, giving up a lot of goals. So I have the Lightning in this one, and I do have it over 6.5 goals. I don't think it's going to be pretty.
There is no way I am trusting Jonas Johansson. That's for sure. So by default, now I have to trust the Rangers, and I assume that they will want to finish out their year better than what it is going, better as it has been now. It's been an absolute collapse from this team in the way that they started to where they are now. Am I crying? Of course not. This is what, you know what I mean? This is, if anything, this is what they deserve. This is what Kreider deserves. So I'm not crying for them.
Let me just say one thing about Kreider. And listen, I know this season he showed his age real quick and went off the edge of a cliff. But this is a guy who is an all-time great New York Ranger. I don't want to hear that he's not. Look, he ranks very high on all the franchise lists. I know he doesn't have his name on the cup. What has he got? 4 or 5 conference finals appearances. He got to the Stanley Cup. He's a key player for them for a very long time. So I understand this year he has failed to deliver, but if you didn't see that coming, if you thought a guy in his mid-30s that had a 50-goal season in his mid-30s was going to keep that up, then man, you are, I don't know what's going on in that brain of yours, but he deserves a good send-off, despite the way the season has gone, despite the fact that his production has been paltry. Give him a good send-off. He deserves it. And it's good. This is probably, unless he's going to come back on some really sweetheart team-friendly deal.
No.
And that's the guy that, I understand the players don't necessarily care. Not to say they don't care about Sam Rosen, but they're not saying in the locker room, let's give Sam Rosen one last victory to call. That's not what they're trying to do. But for a guy like Kreider, they may be like, hey, let's send this guy out with a victory. So that may be a deciding factor here.
Yes, send Kreider off and send him off for good. It's time for a change. It's time for this team to move on and go in a different direction. And it's not just Kreider. It goes for a lot of other players. They've tried. They've had multiple coaches. It's time for a change for this team. I don't want to say rebuild because that doesn't sit well with the New Yorkers. But, I mean, this Rangers team has to be broken down and changed.
Oh, we will get into the Rangers once we get into the playoffs a little bit more, and there's more time to kind of look ahead to the non-playoff teams. But yeah, there is a serious renovation that is going to be needed to that team, and I think, you know what, I wouldn't be against stripping down. I know you just signed Shesterkin. I know there's still some term left on Panarin, but clearly Drury and the locker room don't get along. Clearly Drury didn't have answers to, so I don't know. I mean, there's time to digest that. We got things to talk about on the ice. I don't want to get old. Angry about the Rangers. Like, you know, the Sharks lose, but they're like lovable losers. The Rangers losing was not digestible to me. The Flyers taking on the Sabres, two teams here that are just clearly playing out the string, although Buffalo blew their draft lottery chances by the way they're playing. They send out James Reimer tonight, Alexei Kolosov going out for the Flyers. Flyers plus 145, Sabres minus 162 at home. Not sure how many times they've been that heavy of a favorite this year, just because they are a terrible team. Looking here on the puck line, if you have any sway either way, Sabres to cover a puck and a half plus 151 there. Here's the only thing I got in this game. Nobody's going to be playing all that much defense tonight. I think the over 6.5 is certainly a way you could go here with Reimer and Kolosov in net.
I'm going to stay away from this game, but I will say this. The Sabres remind me of the New York Jets. They're awful at the beginning of the season. Then when it's time to get that draft pick, that's when they start winning these games out of nowhere and take themselves out of a big position.
You know who has the two longest playoff droughts in professional sports? The two teams you just mentioned. There you go.
Listen, am I crying for the Buffalo Sabres? Again, no. This team is horrendous. I mean, you already know how I feel about the city of it. Not the people, just the city is boring. Just like their team is. The fact that they're winning games now when they should be losing like they did all year. This team is just irrelevant. And to the Flyers, I want nothing to do from this game. But I asked the Flyers. I tried to do them a solid. I was going to make, I was saying, hey, if the Flyers could beat Columbus, I was going to make a nice donation, one of those charities somewhere in the good Philly area, help out some animals and stuff. All I had to do, I was going to do $10 a goal if they won. So in typical Flyer fashion, they lost 3-0, and I am just done with the Flyers. So now this was my fault for believing that the Flyers could be something, right? This is on me, right? And look, it happens. But this game is it's two teams that I could care less about, and I'm so happy that I'm not going to turn on the TV and watch them again this year. That is the gift that they give me.
These are two teams with young guys looking to, maybe finish. I think there's not going to be a lot of defense play tonight. You're going to see a lot of up and down. Give me the over on this, and whoever wins. I have no either way there. We got the Red Wings and the Maple Leafs in Toronto, an original 6 matchup here. Toronto had nothing to play for. Detroit coming off a big 5-2 win over the Devils last night. I can see Detroit with Todd McClellan, and they're kind of playing all right here down the stretch. Toronto, I could see Detroit wanting to finish strong here. I could take a shot on the money line at plus 147 with them. Can't believe I'm trusting them, but they have looked better down. Once they got eliminated, they started playing better. Like once it was pretty much done for them, that's another team. Like, oh, okay, here we go. So too little, too late. But I think they can maybe get it done in Toronto.
I agree. I'm taking the over 2 on the goals here. Look, the Red Wings have won 3 in a row. Toronto's, I think, won 4 in a row. I think what's most impressive for the Red Wings, they've beaten the Lightning, Stars, and Devils, all teams that are in the playoffs. So I'm going to go with them to continue this and end on a high note and beat the Maple Leafs.
I don't care for this game. There's no way I'm trusting the Red Wings and Peter Mrazek. That's not a route I want to go down.
He's actually been playing okay. It's against Joseph Wall. It's more of a pick against Wall than anything.
I mean, the Leafs have been better defensively, right? In those 4 wins, they've given up 4 total goals. The Leafs being good defensively is not something I had on my bingo card, but I did promise I was going to say positive things about the Leafs. So the one positive thing is they will not get embarrassed tonight. I actually think they win this game. It's just I'm not swallowing that juice. Not for them. Not tonight. But
right.
I don't think they lose. So that's my positive to the Leafs.
It's weird to hear you saying not negative things about.
I kept my word though, but watch out. That's about as much positivity that's coming.
And last but not least, the last game of the NHL regular season will drop the puck in Los Angeles tonight with the Flames in town. Would have been nice if this game had some meaning. Would have been cool if the West had come down to like Flames winning in kind of thing. Not going to be the case. Looking at the starting goaltenders tonight, Vladar going against what we don't know with the Kings. We spent some time talking about Darcy Kemper before. I'll have a decision to make later. I could see LA has, that game against Edmonton the other night. I think they've kind of, I could see them, and they played well against the Kraken 2-game road trip. They're very, very, very good on home ice. So I can't pick Calgary against them, but I could see the Flames wanting to finish on a high note with the Kings maybe just taking the foot off the gas a tiny bit, knowing they got a series with Edmonton coming up. That's probably going to be more physical than people thought a few weeks ago will be now. I'm not really doing anything with this game. I can make an argument both ways. Maybe the under, but not really anything else here for me.
Adam, don't say this game doesn't have meaning. It has meaning. It has meaning to you. It has meaning to your championship.
Well, because of Jet Greaves going, I'm hoping it doesn't have any meaning to me, but you're right. But this could have a massive amount of meaning to me.
I'm gonna roll with the Kings in regulation here.
Okay.
Kings don't lose at home, so
and
why would they now?
And that's the one thing I could see them wanting to be like, hey, we are dominant at home. We're not going to give an easy one up just because we're trying to maybe get a little rest before Oilers Kings. So that would be the argument is like, hey, we're dominate at home. Let's continue to dominate at home. Yeah. But like you said,
I'll
Calgary
take the over here too on goals.
See, I lean under. Anthony's got over. So there we go. We got to play all three ways for that. And that's it. That's it. There's no more Thursday. There's no more regular season hockey games to make picks or preview. It's done. It's over.
Regular season's over.
But it's not what's going to begin here is Stanley Cup Finals.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go.
Stanley Cup Playoffs en route to the Stanley Cup Finals there. Let's get you see the bracket. Now, when we did the brackets a couple of weeks ago, nothing has really changed from when Chris and I did our brackets, 3 weeks ago it was. Yeah. Pretty much all the same there. Everybody's got the same home ice, all that. We'll see if any predictions have changed here as the last couple of weeks have gone. Now, we spent last week talking about the Devils and Hurricanes. I'm not going to spend too much time here. You see the series odds on the screen. You see the regular season series. And let's start with you. Overall prediction on the series. Obviously no Jack Hughes here. But I do think the Devils can maybe make the Hurricanes sweat a little bit more than they'd like in the first round.
The fact that the home team has won all the games, kind of bothers me a little bit, right? Because the Devils don't have home field here or home ice. So, that's the thing that's going to bother me. They do get Dougie Hamilton back for the playoffs. So hopefully that's a little bit of a boost there. And I really need them to win game 3 because I will be in the building for that. So I need them to be winning that game at the very least. If they can come away with a split, right? That's the most important thing is to come away with the split with the first two. Then we might be talking a little bit here, but I don't know. I just have not been impressed with this team this whole season. We had the high expectations. Chris laid it out at the beginning of the season. No excuses for this Devils team. They should have been better than what they were. I know they've been dealing with a lot of injuries. Losing Jack Hughes is huge, and that's going to be huge for this series. So if they are going to win this series, they need the continued play of Jesper Bratt and the captain Nico Hischier. And the guy that really has to step up, and I talked about this in some of my Devils chats, if this team is going to pull something off here, Timo Meier needs to be the guy, and he really needs to step up. And if he can provide them with something here, then maybe they have a chance. But, man, this is a hard one for me to call. I don't want to go against the Devils here, but I haven't been fully in like I was the last time they made it to the playoffs. I thought that team was a little bit better there. They have better players here on paper. It just hasn't been a great season in Sheldon Keefe's first year, and he doesn't do well in the playoffs either. So I'm going to go Carolina in this series.
Okay. I would stick with the Carolina Hurricanes. Having watched them yesterday when they played Montreal, even with their B squad, they were relentless defensively. This team, like, they finished as the best team on the penalty kill, and it's not a shock why. They're so well structured. This is a team that plays exactly like Rob Brendamore. It is a relentless forecheck. It is relentless in their own zone. They do not give you an inch. And as long as the Carolina Hurricanes get good goaltending out of whoever starts for them, they are deep enough, and they should be able to grind out those wins. These games aren't going to have that like 6-5 finish, right? But they're going to be typical playoff hockey, and I think Carolina is built for that. They will go out and do what they need to do. The Devils not having Jack Hughes obviously hurts. That's like, you can say it doesn't, and you try to replace him and whatnot, but like a player of that caliber is just, when you lose that's a hole.
Here's what I'll say. You know, if this was a Jack Hughes, if this series had Jack Hughes in it, for sure it's a 7-gamer, and it would go from being probably from the least sexy first round matchup to one of the more sexy and underrated ones. I could see Jacob Markstrom getting a game. Maybe the Devils find a way to get 2. But yeah, I think this has got Hurricanes and 5 or 6 written all over it. You're looking for a series correct score. Hurricanes and 5 would be plus 350, and 6 would be plus 370. So Vegas thinks it's going to happen based on the odds in either 5. They don't think it's going to be a sweep, but 5 is the best is the lowest odds. So they're thinking this is going to be a quick one here. Can't blame them. It seems to be the consensus. Now the other series coming out of the Metro bracket, and we're just going to let Chris go off on this one because a couple of weeks ago he had the Canadiens beating the Capitals. 260 for the Canadiens to take the series, minus 330 there. You see the regular season series. Those games also long ago. You're talking about Halloween, December 7th and January 10th. Washington getting 2 of them. Montreal winning 1 in overtime. Obviously a much different Canadiens team now with the way they look. Capitals haven't really had to play any meaningful hockey here in a couple of weeks, besides getting Ovechkin his goal total. So with that in mind, I'm going to just give the floor to Mr. Merez. Tell me why the Canadiens are going to beat the Capitals, and in how many games.
Listen, we've been here before. If you're a Montreal fan, you know exactly when we've been here. Like that one time that Washington blew it away. They won. They finished as far ahead as possible. The gap was massive, and then all of a sudden, that's where Yaroslav Halak took over, and the gap is not as wide this time. Let's not get it twisted. The Capitals are the favorites, as they should be. They had a number of players on their team have career years, and I'm not even worried that they've been playing poorly of late. Maybe that sneaks in, maybe it doesn't, but looking at this Capitals team, I know playoff hockey is about being physical and going out there and just relentlessly dumping your opponent. I don't think that's coming from the Capitals. I think they're a really, really skilled team, and I think that plays to Montreal's asset. Adding Ivan Demidov has been fantastic. He brings an element to this team that they don't have, which is just an absolute amount, a high-skilled player. I'm going to take absolutely nothing away from Cole Caulfield because he can put the puck in the back of the net like nobody else can. But the Montreal Canadiens have been a little bit underestimated here. Like, Nick Suzuki is a top 10 center in the NHL, and I guess I'm going to have to fight somebody who doesn't think that's true because he is. And he can go up and play those big minutes against players who, like, the best in the world. Alex Ovechkin is great at scoring goals, but I mean, he's not getting any younger here. His foot speed's not what it was. We know that what he's out there to do. I just think that the longer this series goes, the more you give the Montreal Canadiens hope that they can win. Like, even if Montreal loses the first 2 games in Washington, it doesn't matter. Like, as long as you don't lose on home ice, you're going to have to win on the road at some point, but it doesn't have to come right out of the gate. Just go in there, go into Washington, play well. I mean, don't give the Capitals any opportunities to score on the power play. Montreal's got to be a lot more disciplined than they've been this year. Because if you're giving Ovi the opportunity to just rip it from his office, it's going in. Like, it's not if it goes in, it's when it goes in. So we've been here before. We've done this. Montreal is aware of how they have to play this. They are aware of how things have to go. We also don't know the health status of Logan Thompson. I'm not going to take anything away from Charlie Lindgren, but he's not Logan Thompson. So there are just too many question marks for the Capitals for this to be like one of those series where they just blow Montreal out of the water. Will it be difficult for the Canadiens? Absolutely, because watching them play has been difficult of late. But you go through some adversity. They've been playing a lot better since the Four Nations. Just go in there. If you can come home with a split, I mean, that's a job well done. That's it. That's all I'm asking for. But even if they lose both, it doesn't matter. The longer this series goes, the more they believe that they can win. And then it's the Capitals who have to say, hey, this team shouldn't be here with us. What's going on? What's happening? And again, Montreal's Canadiens, their best players have to be their best players. You need your top guys to do what they got to do. Montreal's third line has been cooking. Emil Heineman came back yesterday. You saw how much he means to that fourth line. Montreal Canadiens' forecheck was relentless at that point. So there's a lot of good things here for Montreal. They just got to do it now. Put it all together, right? At the beginning of the year, Marty St. Louis said, why not us? Now we are here. This is where the fun starts.
Eric's got a couple of questions. Is Marty St. Louis win Coach of the Year? I don't think so. I think Spencer Carberry's had that locked up for a while. And the guy I would make the argument for number 2 is Dean Evison in Columbus, just having them right there. So, I mean, if for some reason Carberry doesn't get it, which I think he, according to Vegas, at least with the odds, he's had it locked up for a while. But I would see St. Louis potentially as a third. Does Jacob Fowler get called up for this series?
He's rolling. I mean, the Montreal Canadiens farm team, the Laval Rocket, they clinched top spot in their division. I expect them to go on quite the playoff run. Joshua Waugh has been sent down. I guess he was here just in case something happened. That's not going to be the case. I don't see a reason to change that, right? There's enough. You want players to go on these long playoff runs, whether it's in the NHL, even if it's in the AHL. You can learn stuff from going on those runs and competing in games like that. So I don't think he's coming here. Let Dobej sit there. That's basically his role. He's been a great cheerleader. His comments are good. Like he says, even if he's not playing, there are a ton of people who would want to be in his spot, in his shoes right now, and he gets to live it. So no.
Good attitude there. I mean, for me, looking at the series, I can't pick the Canadiens to win, but I do think they're going to keep this close. I do think the Washington is going to get, this is not a typical, we'll call it 1-8 matchup. I know it's technically East 1 versus Wild Card 2, but it's a little bit closer than, the typical 1-8 matchup split there. I would say the Canadiens get at least 2 games there. Washington in 6 is plus 360. If you think that they can if you think the Canadiens can really push it to 7, that's plus 425 on Chris's side. Canadiens in 7 plus 850. In 6 plus 900. I don't think the series is going to be less than 6, no matter how you feel. Unless Washington just comes out and dominates. I don't see Ovechkin not to say slowing down. I know you said he's, not going to score goals at the clips he was in the regular season, but I think he's, the goal chase has rejuvenated him he's got energy. Now that's off his shoulders. And it's almost like the timing was perfect. He got the goal record. He got about a week and a half to kind of get back into, playing a normal hockey mode and not worrying about that. And now he can go into the playoffs just knowing, all right, top seed in the East, got a real chance here, got to take care of business. I'm not saying he's going to go out and be a Conn Smythe winner, but I think he's still going to have a very, very big impact on the series. But I'll take the Capitals in 6.
I just don't like how the Capitals finished the year. And I know it was all about resting. And after Ovechkin got the record, the Jets kind of came off. And now you're going up against a very young Canadiens team that's hungry, that's been starving for the playoffs for, since that pandemic season where they went to the Stanley Cup. So this is a big year for them. They have now Davidov as well as on the team. They have Lane Hudson, all these young kids. And I feel like this right here to me is the upset in 7 games. And I'm not trying to, give Chris more to go off of, but I'm all in. I mean, I got my Canadian shirt in the closet over there. I already talked about that. I'm ready to put it on for Chris here, for this team to win here. I'm going to say that Canadians win in 7. They pull off an upset here.
My man.
Just looking up to Chris. That's all. It's fine.
He knows. Ant knows. He knows. That's it.
Look, he sold me on Lane Hudson, and
if
Lane
you
Hudson
know,
had a
you
big
know.
season.
If you know, you know. The Montreal Canadiens are a young team. It's gonna be a learning process, though. You got a lot of kids participating in their first playoffs, right? And then you got the savvy vets on the other side, been there, done that kind of thing. But the Montreal Canadiens have skill. Now it's about how do you execute that skill in these moments, right? Because it's not just skill that's going to win it. All teams have skill, but it's how you hone in that skill at this time of year. It's not about dangles and all that stuff. It's about making sure you win your board battles, win your pucks, get them in deep. Don't make mistakes in your own zone. No breakdowns in coverage.
Now, that is one of the series involving a Canadian team, not the Canucks, not the Flames, but everybody else seems to, want to participate in the postseason. So good chance for the Cup to go back to Canada this year, although one of those teams is going to be going home after the first round because we got the Battle of Ontario. Oh, baby. Even this American gets excited when these two get together in the playoffs. You see the regular season series there. Ottawa having taken all 3 games, November, January, and then a few weeks ago on March 15th, series odds, Leafs -170. Ottawa +145. And let's face it, and I did say I like the Leafs to win the Atlantic at the beginning of the year, and that's all good and well. But it would be so Leafs to win the Atlantic, not have to deal with Boston for a year. The big bad Bruins are nowhere to be found. They're going to be, except if you're looking on a golf course. And here they get the Ottawa Senators, who are a physical team, who have shown they can beat Toronto this year. They have probably the best goaltender in the series in Linus Ullmark. Him and Anthony Stolarz is close, but Ullmark has at least been down the path and been proven a little bit before. Anthony said that the first round series upset he was taking was the Canadiens over the Capitals after drinking a lot of Chris's Kool-Aid. And I know this is a popular pick, or it's going to be a popular pick for all the reasons I just mentioned, but I really do think that Ottawa is going to go the distance with Toronto here. Ottawa in 7 +650. Yeah, I just, the pressure is going to be on Toronto. There's going to be no pressure on the Senators in the series. They just got to go out and play their game. That's it. It's all on Toronto, the pressure.
I'm actually going to say a second nice thing about the Leafs today.
Oh, my.
I didn't have that on the record. Listen, the Ottawa Senators are going to be the more physical team, and I don't think that's going to shock anybody. They are going to go out there and they are going to make life difficult for the core 4. They are going to if they want to figure out how to beat the Leafs, just go back and watch the Montreal Canadiens and how they do it. This Leafs team is, the physicality is not there, and that's fine. That's not how they're built. They are built on skill and pure skill and going out and putting the puck in the back of the net, which is the most important thing in hockey. Now, again, Ottawa is going to go out there and try to make life extremely difficult for them. And Brady's going to be under everybody's skin. He has waited a long time to be here. He is going to be the straw that stirs that drink. If there's somebody in front of you, he's going to hit him. And he's probably going to finish with 10+ hits, right? But what that means is that Ottawa doesn't have the puck. And Ottawa is, I don't think defensively they're that great. They have that, their offense is fine. Linus Ullmark is a good goalie, and I think relying on him too much will probably be the problem here. The Leafs' blue line is, I would say, adequate at best. It is better than last year's, but this is a blue line that is built with a lot of guys who are going to go out there, block shots. The Chris Tanevs of the world, the Oliver Ekman-Larsson, those are guys who, this is for them. You're not going to get a lot of offensive contributions from that blue line, but that's not what they're built for. Also, you have Anthony Stolarz, who's going to play every single minute of this series. There is no reason Joseph Woll plays a minute unless, Stolarz getting the hit to hit the showers early. He has been phenomenal for this team, and he needs to continue to be phenomenal. But the one problem here is in those 3 meetings this year, they scored a total of 3 goals. So that is unacceptable from a team that has so much money locked up in their. If they lose to Ottawa, just blow it up. Just take the whole thing, blow it up. I mean, send Mitch Marner wherever you got to send him. I don't know what to do here, but Toronto is the better team on paper, and they should win this series. And I think they do, just because Ottawa's going to spend all that time doing what they got to do. And listen, is Brady Tkachuk going to take a bad penalty at some point? Yeah. So that means that Ottawa's got to make him pay. Ottawa's got to go out there. Toronto's got to go out there, yes, and make them pay. Go out there. Let Ottawa run after you. Let them run after you, because if they're running after you, it means they don't have the puck. So, roll up your sleeves, expect what's going to come from you, and then take advantage inevitably when the Senators do what they shouldn't do, right? Like, listen, Nick Cousins is going to do something he shouldn't have done. Adam Gaudette's going to do something he shouldn't do. It's going to come. So Leafs got to hunker down here. Don't get caught up in trying to, fist fight the other team. That's not what you're built for. Go out there, beat them with the skill. You haven't done it in the regular season, but this should be the year that the Leafs get past the first round again.
Would it be fair to say that if Toronto can't take care of business in 5, then they need to start worrying? Because if you look at the odds, it's plus 400 for Leafs in 5, plus 400 for Leafs in 7.
No, listen. I expect this to be a good series. I expect it to go a little bit. I don't think Toronto's going to walk in there and clean up in 5, because Ottawa's, the longer the series goes, again, like the Montreal Canadiens, the more you get, the more you have hope. And the problem is Ottawa, like I said, they're going to hit everything. That's what they need to do. They're not going to beat the Leafs on skill. So you got to make it extremely hard for their best players to exist. And you're telling me by game 5 and game 6, you're not a little banged up? Those bruises start to hurt a little more. The ice baths start to be a little bit longer. Yeah. So if I'm the Leafs, I want to get off to a quick and start and just suffocate them from the start. You want to hit us? Do it. But put the puck in the back of the net. Make Ottawa chase them, right? Make Ottawa have to deviate from that plan. Make Ottawa, try to find the back of the net.
All right. So you've got Toronto. I've got Ottawa. What do you got, Ant?
I'm going to take Toronto in 6 here. I guess the best part for Ottawa is that they have a goaltender who's been through it all already in Ullmark, but I'm going to go with the head coach that's in Toronto, in Berube, who's won a Stanley Cup already. And I feel like that transition from
Keith,
from my coach to theirs, I think is going to be a difference maker, and they don't have to play Boston. Boston's out of the way, not have to worry about them being around anymore. So I think Toronto gets at least to the next round here and wins it in 6. I feel like they have just more talent on that offense.
What a surprise. Ant and Chris agree, and I'm on my own my own little raft here. We go to the next series in the East to wrap it up here. And this is probably, if, Avalanche Stars is the sexy series of the West, this is the sexy series of the East here. Battle of Florida. You see the results there. You can't really take that April 15th game into equation too much. I mean, Florida was banged up. They weren't really trying to get home ice at that point. They knew it was kind of gone. So this is what the series boils down to. You got a Lightning team that has pretty much played well from wire to wire, and you got a Panthers team that is still one of the favorites to take home the Stanley Cup. But Tkachuk has been rested. They bring in Marchand. Bennett's been banged up. Barkov got banged up a little bit. If everybody's ready to, we're not going to have Ekblad here. The thing that gets me about Florida, and I understand why they're a heavy favorite, but they went 7 with Edmonton last year with a lot of deep series. They went to the Stanley Cup Finals the year before. Playing a lot of deep hockey multiple years in the seasons in a row can have a cumulative effect that can sneak up on you at some point. And this is probably not the opponent that Florida wanted to get in the first round, because Vasilevsky, listen, Connor Hellebuyck's winning the Vezina Trophy, but if Connor Hellebuyck had gotten a season-long injury, it'd be going to Vasilevsky, no doubt about it. He's it's clear-cut Hellebuyck number 1, clear-cut Vasilevsky 2, and then you can talk about other goals after that. I think this is I'm all over the Lightning in this series. Give me the light. I think it's going to go the distance. I love the Lightning in 7 here. Looking at the series exact scores for that, Lightning in 7 would be plus 450.
Yeah, I need this series to go the distance. This is basically bragging rights. I mean, it's already bragging rights because they're both in Florida, but Tampa winning the Stanley Cups that they've won, Florida winning the Stanley Cup last year, and I've thought about it all weekend. You laid it out perfectly, Adam. The fact that this team went to the Stanley Cup 2 years ago, went back to win it, and all the wear and tear that it's probably taken on this team to have them do it for a third year in a row, I just don't see it happening unless they had an easy route to getting to the Stanley Cup. And facing this Tampa team is not easy whatsoever. I think I'm with you. 7 games, Tampa Bay takes this series.
I agree it's going to 7. I will tell you that. I can't pick between these two teams because
It's that close.
like as it should be. Florida is a defending Stanley Cup champion. We were talking about how much hockey they played. Like Tampa Bay's played just as much hockey. Like they've played more hockey than anybody in the last 5 years. So it's hard to bet against the defending Stanley Cup champions. It is also hard to bet against Andrei Vasilevsky and John Cooper in that game because if anybody knows what it takes to get there, it's them, right? And Florida as well. You know, Paul Maurice. This is like the people in Florida are spoiled. Also, like short travel as well. You don't have to worry about that. Traveling from one side to the other, even if it's not far for like Carolina and like New Jersey, it's a short flight. Sure, you can probably drive from one side of Florida to the other. But I know. But this like Florida fans here, you guys get your hockey here. So you got to show up because this is a fantastic matchup. If I had to, I would flip a coin and or I would give it to the Florida Panthers just because they like Alexander Barkov is great. They've been there. They've done that. The addition of Brad Marchand, what the factor probably comes down to what Matthew Tkachuk can do for this team, right? Because we've seen in previous years how he can drive this team and how he can do what needs to be done to help them get over the edge. Tampa Bay does not have a Matthew Tkachuk. They don't. And that's the factor. So however much Matthew Tkachuk can contribute to this series will either help or hurt Florida. That's about it. Because on opposite sides, then, you know, you have Reinhart on one side who can fill the net. Kucherov is just elite in every sense, right? You have Alexander Barkov, who is great. Let's not knock Braden Point because he is also very, very good. The secondary story is good for Florida, right? Same thing on the side for Tampa Bay, right? Like Jake Gensel's been fantastic. Brandon Hagel, every single goal he scored was 5-on-5. So I don't know, man. It's a true toss-up in my mind. I don't love Tampa Bay as much as both of you do. I do agree it's 7, but it comes down to a couple of things as to who does what. And I think that's still up in the air.
Plus 200 just for the series to go 7 games. So that would be Chris's play right there. Just, you know, bet the 7 games and double your money. Not a bad way to go. Let's go out to the Central Division. Here's the other big series of the first round. We're talking Avalanche and Stars. Here we go. Series odds -140 for Colorado. Dallas +120. You know, the fact that they only met 3 times in the regular season despite playing in the same division is a joke. The NHL just needs to get to 84 games and do the balanced schedule that way because it's like, it's enough. Like a division team should be 40 games each. I don't know why it's not. But anyway, this is the series we all wanted. We're maybe not in the first round. This probably should be a semis or a conference finals, but alas, here we are. I see a lot of people picking Colorado. I see a lot of people picking Dallas. No Miro Heiskanen for this series, which at one point people thought he might be back, but is not the case. And then looking also just at other issues here for Dallas. Jason Robinson got injured the other night. They finished the season 0-5-2. Jake Ottinger, I played him in a league where he messed up my number. That's same league that we're talking about tonight. I wouldn't have those bad numbers if I didn't play Jake Ottinger last night. So not really happy with him, putting me in this Darcy Kemper position perhaps tonight. But nonetheless, I've picked Dallas to come out of the West before they added Rantanen. So there's a little bit of me just, sticking to my guns here. Colorado's a really strong team. Does Dallas's play down the stretch worry you at all? Do you think all right, fine, they'll be fine by the time they drop the puck for game 1 here? This is the other really close series here. I'm going to pick Dallas in 7. I mean, I don't think this is going less than 7, short of a major injury happening. We thought Colorado-Winnipeg was going to be a long series last year as well, but then that didn't really happen. But nonetheless, I got Dallas in 7 here. Again, it's close, but there have been problems with Dallas down the stretch, and some people leaning a little more heavily towards Colorado, and I can understand that.
Dallas is getting Sagan back, right? Sagan came back.
Yeah, he played. He was active. He played last game. Yes, he did.
I think that the fact that they've lost 7 in a row bothers me. You don't want to go into the playoffs. That's pretty bad. I mean, ending the season on a 7-game losing streak is pretty bad. I'm going with Colorado in 7. I'm going to be one of those people. I'm going to take Colorado in 7. They got McKinnon, they got Makar. Obviously, Dallas has the better goaltender, but we've seen in past series where we thought Dallas was going to make it through, and they lose. So they have a lot of pressure on them, just like Toronto does at this point in time now. Maybe not to their extent, but it's going to be getting there soon. So I'm going to take Colorado here in 7. I think that they can pull this off.
Dallas has a ton of offensive depth, man. Now with Sagan healthy, who knows what happens to Robertson? It was absolutely foolish of them to play him. I don't what are we doing now? Why are we doing it? There's no reason. They should have had a ton of guys sitting, but alas, here we are. I will say this though. All the questions that we had about the Colorado Avalanche at the beginning of the year when they couldn't do anything, right? They have answered. They needed more depth. They got it. They needed a goalie. They got it. And it's absolutely fitting that Mikko Rantanen is going to be able to come back to Colorado and play meaningful games for the Dallas Stars. But I'm going to take Colorado in this series. And the factor that will go the other way for me is how Colorado plays on the road. Colorado's got to take care of business on a home ice. I think they can. Nobody competes with Colorado on home ice. They are just different. They are just different. They are built different. And then it's a question of you have no choice, but you have to go into Dallas and win a game. You have no choice. You have to go in there and figure out a way to do it. And I don't think Dallas's blue line without Miro Heiskanen is good enough. I just don't think it's good enough. I'm not going to knock Harley, but the rest of that gang is just basic. It's just basic. And with Ottinger playing the way that he's playing, again, Ottinger's been good on home ice. He's got to go out on the road as well and start winning games. And I don't think that's where it happens. And if you remember back a couple of years, Colorado, they won their series against Winnipeg, which we'll deal with them in a minute. But they made Connor Hellebuck look like, Martin Jones, which is absolutely terrible, which is hard to do because Connor Hellebuck's about to win, a Hart Trophy. I give the edge here to Colorado because everything that we wanted them to address, they've done. This is a deeper team. They still have all the offensive pieces that they need, right? You still have, Nathan McKinnon. Marty Necas has been great coming over. You haven't even realized that Mikko Rantanen's not there because Marty Necas has fit in so well. And defensively, I think they're deeper. I mean, having Cale Makar as your top defenseman certainly doesn't help. And give Mackenzie Blackwood credit. He's come in and he has done exactly what has been asked of him, which is to provide this team with solid goaltending. So maybe Colorado doesn't have as much depth as the Stars do. Maybe on paper, Mackenzie Blackwood is not as good as Ottinger.
But right now,
Ottinger's not stopping anything. And if he doesn't turn it around and if that defensive core can't figure it out, they're in trouble. So it's not shocking to see Colorado come in as the favorite. I think a lot of that, though, is on how Dallas has played recently. But I also don't think that's not fair because, again, they didn't have anything really to play for. They stumbled at the wrong time, but the regular season means nothing at this point.
To your point about playing Robertson, I agree. There's no reason he should have been out there. I agree. Throwing Jake Ottinger the way he's been playing last night, giving him a chance to maybe right the ship a little bit, that I'm okay with. Yeah, Robertson, they should have what Carolina has done between last night and tonight. That's the approach they need to take, where they're pretty much scratching almost half of the forwards and calling up AHL guys, giving them a chance to get a little taste of action there. So
there is no top 9 in the NHL right now as deep as what Dallas has. There's not a single. Robertson healthy, there's not a single team that has the depth that they have. That's where it comes down to after that. That depth has to show up. Colorado has their hands full, let's face it. But all you got to do is go on the road and win one. Because, again, I expect both teams to take care of business at home. So Colorado, we're asking them for one road win. That's it. One. And I think they can do it.
Whoever wins on the road first maybe takes the series. Let's look at the other Central Division series here is the Winnipeg Jets and President Trophy winners hosting the St. Louis Blues, who are one of the hottest teams in the NHL over the last month of the season there. You see the regular season results. Winnipeg taking 3 out of 4 there from the Blues. Winnipeg minus 180, St. Louis plus 155 on the series odds there. The way St. Louis was playing down the stretch and the way Winnipeg has yet to really make a deep playoff run, I know there may be some tempt there to take the Blues as a series upset. I don't know if Winnipeg's going to go all the way. I don't even know if they'll get to the conference finals, but I don't, maybe the Blues give them a fight here. They'll play tough. I think these games are close, but if there was any series that I would say has got a chance at realistically going 5 games, to me, I think it's this one here with the Winnipeg Jets. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it goes 5. And how fitting that it's Jordan Binnington versus Connor Hellebuyck, a rematch from the Four Nations final, except this time Jordan Binnington doesn't have Team Canada behind him. He's got the St. Louis Blues. So I'm going to go Winnipeg in 5 games. I don't think that Winnipeg allows what happened to them last year, that embarrassment, to come back to haunt them again this year. Because if it does, here we go into the Toronto-type territory, Dallas-type territory where these teams can't win. You can't allow St. Louis to win, and I don't think it happens. Winnipeg for me in 5.
There's a lot of disrespect for the St. Louis Blues, and as somebody who has disrespected them more than a fair share, I think they probably push this to 6. Like this team is just rolling, man. The last thing you want to do is face a team coming into the playoffs that is red hot. Like I didn't want to see the St. Louis Blues here, but they've gone out and they've done the work. They've come in and they've won games and they have a ton of depth, right? They may not have a ton of, sexy players up front, but they get contributions from up and down their lineup. And yes, we've seen what Jordan Binnington can do. As much as he had Team Canada in front of him, like that overtime period stands out, right? As somebody who watched it, he was a big reason why Canada came home, with a gold. And for Winnipeg, it's about getting the job done. I agree that they're going to want to squish this as early as possible. For, again, every other reason that we've talked about for, teams like Ottawa and teams like Montreal, you do not want to give them the hope that they can compete here. And Connor Hellebuyck has to be their best player. There's no question about it. Nikolai Ehlers is hurt. Sounds like a week-to-week thing. That's a loss. But Winnipeg has been the best team for the majority of the season. And now it's time to earn it. Now it's time to earn it. Like this is where you positioned yourself to not have to play Colorado and not have to play Dallas. And Colorado and Dallas are still a better team than the St. Louis Blues. So they're going to have to go out there and they're going to have to make life difficult for the Blues. But Winnipeg cannot in any way, shape, or form take their foot off the gas. They got to go out there and want to just absolutely crush the Blues. You want to make this exceptionally hard for them, because if not, again, they're going to believe that they can. I do at some point expect the Blues to just run out of gas. If you just, and again, Connor Hellebuyck probably has to be the best player on his team every single night, because when you run into a goalie that when you know your goalie's not giving up more than 2, makes life a lot easier to go out there and know that, hey, we don't have to score 3-4. We just need a couple and we're good. And that's what St. Louis is looking at here. They're looking at a goalie who is not going to give up that many goals. And he can't. He can't either. You don't want to feel like your team has to go out there and score 3, 4, 5 goals any night in the playoffs. But, I mean, Connor Hellebuyck is here. This is where he can earn his, is he as good as Carey Price? This is where you earn your money. This is where you go out and get it. So We'll see how that goes. But I believe that Winnipeg wins this. I just don't think it's as quickly as they want, but I think they hunker down and they finish it.
Two shortest odds in the series for the series exact score. Winnipeg in 7 is plus 400. Also, Winnipeg in 5 plus 400. So they say, kind of like what I was alluding to with the Leafs and Senators. If it's not going to be done in 5, it's probably going to go 7 in that regard. We'll see how St. Louis is rocking for a potential game 6. 2 more series to go. Let's go out to the Pacific Division here. And this is the one I'm really excited about because, I understand with McDavid and Draisaitl why Edmonton is a minus 135 series favorite here over the Kings. And the last 2 games, Edmonton wasn't at full bore there for those April games. And, LA's been on a roll and just the way they play at home. But I don't know, 3 straight years of losing to a team in the first round. At some point, you got to get tired of that. If the Kings were ever going to beat the Oilers in the first round, this is the year, I think, to do it. the Kings have been unbelievable on home ice. So is Darcy Kemper. That saying his name a lot tonight. His ears got to be burning just from the amount of times we mentioned him on Total Hockey Now. But this is Edmonton has just been too inconsistent. I don't trust. And I know Skinner's been playing better lately, but him and Pickard, I don't trust them. And the Kings have home ice, so if they can just hold serve at home, they've got it. There's no reason I don't think they could go steal a game in Edmonton. There might be a little bit of a with McDavid and Draisaitl, maybe they could get a couple of games here. Another couple of deep runs for them. I don't know. There's a lot of reasons for me to pick the Kings, and there's very few reasons for me to pick the Oilers here.
I don't know if you saw that show that they did, that kind of like documentary that they went behind the scenes, and then you see the Oilers at the end of the Stanley Cup. You have Connor McDavid, crying, the whole team surrounding him, all upset after losing Game 7 and that comeback that they almost pulled off. I think that fuels them. I know I know it's like cliche of these things, but I think that fuels them to finish, at least try to finish the job. I think they beat the Kings. I think it's going to be in 7, but I do think that the Oilers, with all the experience now that they keep having, I think they take one again from the Kings.
I can't stress this enough. But this is over in 5. The Edmonton Oilers are just not a good hockey team, man. They've had an exceptionally hard time of late staying healthy. This is the worst. There's no good time to be hurt. Right now is probably the worst, right? So, yes, McDavid played against San Jose. He's probably good to go. I don't know what Leon Draisaitl's health is like. The expectation is that he's going to play, which is fine. The loss of Mattias Ekholm is the one that's going to hurt the most, because he is done for the first round. It doesn't sound like he is this is a short-term thing. And I mean, who knows what shape even if he can return. There is a massive hole now on that blue line. Let's not pretend that Evan Bouchard is any good defensively. Let's not pretend that Darnell Nurse is either. These are guys who they're not good defensively. And with the way that Stuart Skinner has played this year, he has been so inconsistent. Even if you have to turn to Calvin Pickard, who has played better, it's Calvin Pickard. Let's keep it a stack here. It sounds like Zach Hyman's going to be able to play fine. Whatever you get out of Evander Kane is irrelevant, because he has not played a single minute this year. So with how good the Kings are at home, you only have to go out to Edmonton and win one game. That's it. That's all you got to do. So you win both at home, right? Go into Edmonton, win one, but just win one, and then win on home ice. So I have no idea how Edmonton opens the series as a favorite, because their lineup is top heavy, right? Just absolutely stunningly top heavy, right? And then what? There's no secondary scoring here. There's not a single one.
You might want to jump on Kings in 5. That's plus 700 for the series correct score. Shortest odds is Edmonton in 6, plus 350. Kings in 7, plus 500. Be the next shortest one there. And then so is Oilers in 7 would be plus 500. So you think
there's no way somebody looked at this and went, yes, Edmonton is the favorite.
A lot of people have. That's the thing, and this happens all
the time.
That is
delusion.
How could they be favored? How could they be favored? Vegas knows things we don't know. And this is one of those where it's I don't get it. The Kings have played them well. Like, I understand the two best players on the planet are in Edmonton, but like you said, the Ekholm hole on the blue line is massive. Who knows how much of Leon Draisaitl you're getting when he's actually out there? What percentage is he playing at health-wise? And the Kings are just too damn good on home ice, and they have the home ice advantage. So there's so many reasons to go to the Kings here. I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. I like the Kings to beat Edmonton. I said it on this podcast weeks ago, a couple weeks ago. Like, if the Kings and the Oilers play, I'm on the Kings. No reason to change that. So I'm going to stick with the Kings here. We got one last series to go before we bid you farewell on this playoff preview edition. Now, this is the least sexy matchup in the West, but I don't think that's a fair characterization because you got Kaprizov back in the lineup. You got Eriksson Ek back in the lineup. Vegas is just like the Kings, a very good team on home ice. Series odds there, -205, Minnesota +170. Again, I don't think anybody here is thinking Minnesota can upset Vegas, but I do think that maybe this could go 6 because of the fact that you got Kaprizov back. When I was talking with Mr. Jared Moore about this on a recent episode of Rip and Riff, he had made a point that if Kaprizov had stayed healthy this year, he might have won the Hart Trophy over Hellebuck, and I don't think that's a bad argument, and I think that's the way he came out of the gate. Absolutely. Obviously, the injury for as long as he's out is going to derail any campaign of that, but if he can keep playing well, it's going to make Vegas sweat. Now, do I think Minnesota wins the series? No, but I think it's a little closer than maybe some people think it is on paper.
I think Minnesota wins this. I think they win this series, and plus, like, Vegas being that heavy of a favorite is certainly a choice. Vegas is very good on home ice. The minute they leave the Fortress, everything falls apart. They are not the same team. So, the addition of Kirill Kaprizov coming back and Joel Eriksson Ek as well, those are two massive pieces for this team. There is a lot of options. Joel Eriksson Ek can play both ends. He's not Alexander Barkov, but he's not far. And I wouldn't even call him like the Timu or the Wish.com version, because that's not what he is. Joel Eriksson Ek is a great two-way player. Then you have Matt Boldy, who provides some additional scoring. You still have Zuccarello. You went out to get Nyquist. Their defense is what it is. It's kind of there, and it's just like that's a committee group. And then it's going to come down to how well does Philip Gustafsson play, because he's got to be the backbone of this team. He's got to come in there and solidify. I think this will be a more defensive matchup than we are used to. That's what it is. And there are lots of guys for the Vegas Golden Knights at career highs. Dorfey did well. This is a deep lineup, yes. But the problem is when they go on the road, they're just not that good. So I think people are forgetting what the Minnesota Wild can achieve because Kirill Kaprizov has been out for so long. But he is a big boy. He can throw his weight around. He can score goals. He makes everybody else on the ice better. He makes everybody better. Mark Stone played a full season, so that's new. And I don't know, man. If there's one upset that's coming out of the West, it's right here. Maybe I just love the Minnesota Wild a little bit too much. Maybe. But
well, I mean, technically the Kings would be an upset, by Vegas odds at least, maybe not by seed. But this would be a true upset in both fashions.
Somebody is wrong on that side. If you think the Edmonton Oilers have no business being a favorite, that's a mismatch. That's the mortgage on the Kings winning the series. But this one here, I feel like it's just a little bit too much disrespect to the Minnesota Wild.
I agree with Chris that this would be an absolute upset, and I would like to see it. I would like to see Minnesota win.
Man.
I just don't think it happens, though.
Yeah,
I don't think it happens, though. I think Vegas wins this. You mentioned how, Vegas is great at home, 29-9 and 3 on the at home. They're 21-13-7 on the road. Minnesota's 22-17 at home. They haven't had, all Vegas has to do is take one game.
But how good have they been on the road? Minnesota's been one of the better road teams, which is what you have to do, right? Don't lose at home. You have a team that is not great at home, but on the flip side, Vegas isn't good on the road. So to me, that kind of cancels each other out. And then it's, yes, the Kings are good. Yes, the Golden Knights are good at home, but Minnesota is as well. And that's where it's going to come down to is like, I believe more that Minnesota can go on the road and win hockey games. I believe in that more than Vegas going on the road and winning. And that's probably where it comes down to the series being won or lost.
Outside of wanting to see the Canadiens upset the Capitals, this is probably on the west side is the upset I want to see from Minnesota. I don't know. That's a hard one. I'm going to take Vegas, but I want to see Minnesota win this one.
Vegas and 7 plus 400, Vegas and 5 plus 400, Vegas and 6 plus 425, Wild and 7 plus 600. If the Wild win the series, they're going to have to go the distance. I don't see a scenario where they beat them in 6 and get. I think they would have to go the distance. But I think the series is going to be, you're going to be watching that East Coast playoff hockey, and the eyes are going to be getting a little bit heavy. Maybe you see the first period of Vegas, Minnesota. Watch to the end of it, because with a guy like Kaprizov coming out at the end, if it's a 1-goal game, yeah. Now the way I'd like to see a storybook ending here is, Gustafsson gets hurt, but not long enough that he's going to be out for a long time, but enough that Fleury needs to come in and steal a victory against his old Vegas Golden Knights team. That would be awesome. Although I don't know if we really want Fleury out there in the playoffs because he's not been that great this year. Who knows? Maybe he turns back the clock. But there we go. We've gone through all 8 series there. Now we're not going to reveal our full brackets today. I know Chris has his done. He's going to drop his. Anthony and I will do ours after the show, and we will tweet those out. But do we have at least a Final Four or Stanley Cup final prediction you want to throw out there before we say farewell today?
Probably Winnipeg coming out of the West. I think this is the year they figure it out. And on the East side, I feel like it's probably the Panthers, man.
All right. So that answers a question we had in the chat. This Florida repeat. Chris says yes. Anthony and I got Tampa winning in the first round. So no for us. And Final Four, who do you got out of each conference, or what do you got?
Final Four, looking at it right now, I'm going to say Tampa, Carolina.
Oh.
And then I'll say, oh man, the West is a little bit tougher for me.
I have the same 2 in the East for what it's worth. I have a Tampa, Carolina conference final.
I'll say Winnipeg, and I'm going to say Winnipeg and Edmonton. Because I already picked Edmonton. I picked Edmonton to win the Kings series, and I can't go back on that now. I want to see if they can get to the conference final again.
An all-Canadian conference final. Oh my, that would be something. Here's my West.
Gary would hate that, man. Part of me wants it. You know what I mean? Can you imagine if, let's say, the Montreal Canadiens make it on the east side like that far, and then you got Winnipeg and Edmonton? You imagine having 3 Canadian teams?
What if Ottawa comes out of the other bracket? You can have all 4. You can really just ruin the ratings in the United States.
Stop. No. So no. It's not. No. Stop. Okay. No. But Gary would hate it. So that's the next step. But that would mean that Edmonton has to make it out of the first round, and we know that's not happening. So.
I did win bracketology last year, so we'll just want to throw that in there. I did have Florida over Edmonton in the Stanley Cup.
You did. No, you did well last year, and Winnipeg, Edmonton. That would actually be a really interesting matchup for me out west. If Dallas beats Colorado, they go conference finals. They're going to beat Winnipeg, so I got Dallas and the Kings meeting in the conference finals out west. Because
that's a good matchup. I'd love to see that.
And I'm not going to reveal Stanley Cup final matchup yet, but those are going to be my Final Four there. But hey, fellas, this was a fun little preview here. We got some Thursday picks in. The puck's going to drop on some of those games here in about 30 minutes. Let's not forget Slapshot Podcast. What do we got coming up, Chris?
I will do the full bracket. I will do the full bracket so that we can go through. We're going to talk a little bit more about Ivan Demidov, because why absolutely not, and just recap a little bit of the Montreal Canadiens season, how we got from, we literally started from the bottom. Now we're here. So, I mean, you know what I mean? Some people, too much disrespect to the Montreal Canadiens. And look, they were in the mix. Here we are.
Here's what I want. I want a getting to know you segment about Ivan Demidov. I want to know like how he likes his coffee, what his favorite meal is, favorite TV show. That's what I'm looking to find out about Demidov. Get that, let's really get to know the guy on Slapshot Podcast. Now, Mets Subway to Shea Podcast. What do we got coming up there, Ant?
Trying to take Met fans off the ledge only 2 weeks into the season, and already a winning record nonetheless, but fans are buying into a lot of the clickbait that they're hearing on the radio with the Juan Soto stuff. I try to steer them away from that and focus on what's important with this team, even the failures that they've been having so far this season, because there's been quite a few, and try to steer everybody in the right direction. It's 3 weeks into April, for goodness.
We just paid taxes a few days ago.
Unbelievable. Let's relax. Let's chill. The baseball season just started. If you need a break, come here, watch Total Hockey Now, and get ready for the for the playoffs.
Okay.
There we go. I talking people off the ledge on April 17th. All right, I love it. And Rip and Riff, Jared and I just dropped a new episode a couple hours ago. We did some wrestling cards for WrestleMania this weekend. We did some hockey cards for the playoffs, some old school football. It was a good, strong episode today. And I didn't officially do it here today, but I was going to add Darnell Nurse to our Total Hockey Now punk bitch list for his cross check to the back of the neck. Quentin Byfield, so we'll have to do that on the next edition. But yeah, you know better, Darnell. At $9.25 million a year, better know better than like that's just not even in that spot on the ice too. Like that was risky. But there you go, Rip and Riff, good stuff. But hey, please keep in touch with us throughout the playoffs here. We want to hear your predictions. We want to hear your thoughts. We stuck with great, all that stuff. Right at Rivera 86, and for that Fuzzy Chris 91. I'm not fucking talking Adam Bernard. We'll be back with you next week. It's NFL Draft Thursday. We'll have some NHL playoff hockey to talk about too. We'll be back with you next Thursday. It'll be another these fellas. Back with you an all new edition of Total Hockey Now next week on the Total Hockey Now YouTube channel.